Let me see if I can explain the welfare trap, okay? I think. I mean, maybe I'm off base here, and I tend to rattle, and sometimes I get cut off. I cut myself off in the middle of things, and yada yada yada. And you make videos good. I don't make videos so good, and we'll get back to that part if I remember. But the point is, real quickly, is that the welfare trap is not only people being comfortable living on assistance. It's that you can't there you can't get out of it. After a certain point, there's a gap where everything you need, probably including medical or assistance for housing or anything else, you can't frigging pay for. Or you can't jump the gap. And even if you could, for the amount of work that you don't do compared to what you would have to do to break even, you wouldn't want to. So you're right about that point in a way. But also, there's a problem that assistance doesn't supply enough of anything. So what people do is they use their free time to network. They social network, not online, but in the community. Being part of the hood, being part of the group. Illegal or legal, what they do is they frigging horse trade resources and services like babysitting, hair stuff, other things that they can't really afford. They horse trade those things to each other, and it takes up most of their time. That time sitting around is used for under the table supplementing friggin' what the insurance really isn't cutting in for them. And just like making videos and networking and I forgot all the other terms, but it's like, stumping and all that. You're trying to friggin' build your base to get the most resources coming your way. And that's where the friggin' another trap of the welfare thing gets all hooked up. It doesn't make sense to go work for a minimum wage job when you can't do it. And in tough economic times, like let's face it, the depression we're in now, it also doesn't make sense to try to friggin' go out and work when there's nothing out there. You've got people friggin' 10 times more friggin' educated than you who friggin' are waiting in line to do things that you don't want to do. And they're cutting programs out. So it's getting to be a nightmare. I totally agree with the go out and work thing. But just like some people can adapt, whatever makes you able to adapt to freaking go out and pull yourself up and get those jobs and make good videos. There, I got back to it. And freaking that Promethean spark that makes you click and makes you successful, some people don't have. Some people just don't have any kind of real personable, intellectual, or other types of skills or aptitudes to do anything. There's want ads filled with friggin' things, and there's no way to friggin' fill them. I'm not going to be a nuclear technician. I'm not going to be a systems op coordinator. I'm not going to be a friggin' lab pharmaceutical assistant. I'm not going to be a paralegal. And another thing is monetary gain to friggin' get these positions. you have to pay a pretty penny to get the prerequisites to freaking do these jobs. And if you really know in your heart, you're not going to be a skydiving instructor or friggin' go off and friggin' be a doctor without borders, or, or do friggin' some science thing, take geology so you can friggin' go hunt for friggin' oil with oil companies or something like that. If you can't get to where the money is, and most of the people friggin' in the average day world are kind of pedestrian and can't really do it without an extended course of study. And by the time you get in your later ages, 30s, 40s, it's over. The ride's over. Everybody knows you might be lucky to make 80, but pretty much, 50 to 65 is checkout time. You better have it friggin' preset by the time you're in your late teens. You better have it set by the time you're in your early 20s. And you better friggin' be underway by the time before you're 30. Everyone knows this. And with more people getting pushed out of secondary jobs, well, I could go on. But this feeling of defeat is part of, what keeps people back also. There's a social capital that's lost. And I could get into social capital, and I could get into freaking versions of egalitarianism and small government and social contracts and all those things, because I believe in social deregulation. In other words, all those things you love, freaking all those equal opportunity and everything, I see that as intrusion of government. Just like you do on an economic thing. But that's here and there, oh, you're a gay-loving pinko, who's friggin' gonna knuckle under the friggin', masses with your friggin' all your understanding of individualism, and I'm a fat slob bigot. So what, That's why I mostly vote Republican all the time. Even though economically, and the libertarians jumping back and forth because they're social democrats, and friggin' they're socially liberal and economically conservative 10 times more than the neocons, or even the paleo-conservatives pretty much, I mean, you can't get much more anarcho-liberal, hardcore friggin' economic, laissez-faire capitalism than friggin' a libertarian. Well, that depends on which libertarian you're talking about, because there's all different kinds and stuff, there's more shades of libertarian than there are friggin' socialists and communists and all that stuff, you know what I mean? But to make my point clear is that there is a lot of things to a trap. Now, I think in a tax, it would be fair not just to have a progressive tax, but, that's another thing. The reason why it was the progressive tax is not so unfair is because even though a flat tax would be good for, seems fair, and I liked the idea until I heard about it, it costs the guy less to make, the guy who's making less, it costs him more to make the ends meet. But the rich guy frigging ends up with frigging enough to get by, and then the rest is just luxury, or, and here's the dangerous part, it's a reinvestment into society. And that's where you tax someone out of their incentive. If you tax now this is on the flip side, if you tax the rich out of their incentive, then you have a problem also. That's the conservative side of the argument economically, and I acknowledge that, because it's true. If you friggin', and it's a hard reality, but if you overtax the rich, it will also be a problem if you undertax them. What we need to do is make a way to bridge the gap so the poor can have incentive to become richer. That's all we really need. Thanks.